Alright, in today's video we're going to be taking this manual 5-speed trans apart. I'm going to give you a little walkthrough on how to take it apart. So first thing you want to do is get all the fluid out of it. Obviously, if you put it on the table it's going to make a mess. So first thing we're going to do is get the shift selector off, and I'm going to start doing that. Alright, so some basic tools you're going to need to do this job are a 10 mil, a 12 mil, 14 mil. You're going to need this Allen tool. It is a 5/16, and the bigger one for the bigger plug, it's a 14. You're going to need some needle nose pliers, 2 pry bars, an extension, a universal, and just some breaker bars. So, alright, so to get the shift selector off, we're going to want to make sure it's in neutral. So we're going to go ahead and put it in neutral. Then we're going to go ahead and take off the side plug. This plug pretty much holds in the shift selector so it doesn't fall out. So once you take that off, you can go ahead and remove the 4 10 millimeters to hold the selector on. Remember which one's which because, oh shit, there's 2 that are longer than the others, so it's kind of important when it goes back together or it's not going to go on properly. This might be a little hard to get off as well. It's silicone down pretty good. So, and this one's going to come off. There are 4 dowels, but let's go ahead and pull it straight out. Kind of got to give it a little wiggle. Comes right out. And that's the shift selector. Alright, so once you have the shift selector off, we're going to go ahead and remove this bracket that is in between the bell housing and the other side. And this 3 bolts hold your shifter cables. I'm going to set that to the side. And next you can do these bolts up here for your detent springs. As you can see, there are little springs in this, so make sure not to lose those. Unless you have upgraded ones, you're going to be replacing those. And also make sure you have your transmission level, because there are little balls in here that you don't want to lose. So once you got those 3 out, take your little magnet in there, little ball. There's 3 of them for those 3 bolts you took out. You have the detent springs out. You're gonna go ahead and take this last bolt out over here for this holds the reverse here in place. Once you have the reverse bolt out, you can go ahead and remove this top plug over here. It's gonna get you access to a clip. And then take that off. I'll show you what to do with this clip here in a second. Alright, for this next part, we're going to do all of the 12 mils that attach the bell housing to the rear of the case. So for this, you might have to remove the dowel pin that is right here. But in this case, it's still in my shifter fork, not shifter fork, but my shift selector over there. So just keep that in mind. If you can't get access to this bolt, it's because of the dowel right here. Alright, now we're going to remove these 12 mils that are around the hole of the case. Also remember where these go, because there are a few that are actually longer than the others. Alright, so once you have all those 12 mils out, you're going to work on this little clip up here. We're going to pry the 2 case and bell housing apart, and you're going to have to work on getting this clip off as you pry that off at the same time. It can be a little tricky, and it's easier with 2 people, but it is possible with 1 people, so we're going to go ahead and start that up now. Alright, so I went ahead and swapped around the pry bar locations. So go ahead and get this pin opened up. Let's start prying up on this half of the case. So pry bar again. But it's because it's caught on the bearings. So we're going to just keep working it. You want to make sure you keep this clip pry apart. Alright, we had a little camera glitch, so we got the clip off, just a little clip there, and then you just pry it apart between the two. And that pretty much rides on this bearing right here and that channel. So once you get that clip off, this bearing's gonna drop, then the case will be able to come off. So I'm gonna walk you through the next couple little steps to get the gears out and the diff out. So alright, so once you get the case off, to get the gears out, we're gonna have to pop off these two 10 mils here, and then we're gonna get off these two 10 mils here. So also another little side note, when you go to put the transmission back together, this little top collar piece, you're gonna wanna make sure the point, the other two are flat. They're gonna be facing towards this shift selector here. But when I do the other video putting it back together, I'll also remind you guys. Alright, to get the reverse gear out, it's pretty simple. You can go ahead and just pull up on it, kind of shimmy it out. And that one bolt that was on the outside that I said held the reverse gear actually threads into that. So, alright, so once you got all those two little brackets off for the reverse and have the reverse gear out, you can go ahead and actually pull the gears out. And this part's usually pretty tricky. You can go ahead and just start sticking your fingers down under the bottom gear by the final drive. Go ahead. Might be a little stuck. You have to do a little wiggle. Go ahead and pull them out. Set them down gently. Alright, so now we're going to get the final drive out. It's usually pretty tricky to get this out, so you're going to want to spin it a little bit and just pull it right out. And here's the open diff and the two bearings. Looks like you have a little magnet over here. Before you put it back together, you're going to want to clean that off. It's going to have a bunch of debris. Here's the main shaft bearing and the counter shaft bearing. If you ever rebuild it, more than likely it's best idea to replace those. And then here's your speedo